Well, it is hard to decide, all right, we're going to scale this to some other people and trust them. The whole goal was, can we keep the quality just as high when we swap other people in? That was hard for Phil and I to kind of expand into that.
Welcome to The Path to Owning It, a podcast by Provide, powered by Fifth Third. Here, we share real stories and raw lessons from business owners who have lived them. Join us as we spotlight one entrepreneur's journey at a time, from the first spark of an idea to the pivots, challenges, and wins that shape their path. Because entrepreneurship isn't a straight line. It's personal, unpredictable, and full of lessons worth sharing. I'm your host, Corey Brown, a marketing leader at Provide with over a decade of experience supporting small business owners. Whether you're just starting out or deep in the game, this is where you'll hear the unfiltered reality of building something that matters. Like what you hear? Follow The Path to Owning It on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen. Today, I'm back with Krista and Phil Franks, and if you caught our last episode, you already know why we couldn't fit everything into one conversation. If you missed part one, head over to getprovide.com to catch up. It's well worth your time. For those joining us for the first time, Krista and Phil are the husband and wife co-founding team behind Owl and Key, a platform built around intentional living and lifestyle design. Krista has spent over a decade guiding thousands through transitions and reinventions, and Phil is the founder of Nucleus, a creative advisory firm behind some of today's most influential brand and product work. Together, they didn't just build a business, they rebuilt their lives. And when we left off with Krista and Phil, we were discussing building Owl and Key as a husband and wife team. So let's talk about your lifestyle and building a business. How did you define roles and responsibilities in the beginning?
The first part of our book is all about self-awareness. So we start with 3 different phases: personality, values, and life intentions, which Corey, you know about the intentions piece of what do you really want in life? And sometimes we use the word legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And so from self-awareness perspective, we leveraged our strengths and our superpowers that we knew. I had been saying it a long time. I'm a big fan of any type of personality data, from StrengthsFinders to DISC, human design, gene keys nowadays, Enneagram, all of those. And I had been telling Phil, this is really good data. We should get it. But not until he got that executive coach he's like, oh, I love this stuff. I got this information. So what we found is, in a traditional personality model, we are exact opposites, of course. I'm a big, deep thinker and structure, putting things together, very personable, person-oriented. And Phil is action-driven. He's very pragmatic and will kind of lift things up. He does quantum leaps once he has a vision and can bring it to life. And so it's pretty easy for us to identify what was best suited for me and what was best suited for him in the business. And then we would just leverage each other's strengths. After a couple fights, where we had to get our egos out of the way and learn how to get along in that capacity. Of course, you're never getting through business with your partner without those. But that really helped us to figure out, hey, you're trying to do something that's completely outside of your lane of what you're good at. Hand it over to me. I'll take care of it, and vice versa.
And on the lifestyle front too, Corey, Krista mentioned the business front. We use the term nucleus a lot. Ironically, it's the name of the agency that I have. The nucleus is the family, and then that derives and what you want as an orb, and then everything else is required out from that. I don't want to be a dinner dad or a see you after work dad. I want to be integrated in day-to-day life, hence the Thursday zoo trip. And so when we started, it was not a Phil goes off to work and does all this stuff because he's good at action. It was, no, we split times based off when we wanted to do things with the kids. When we had client things, like Krista had meetings with clients, or I had meetings with people that I was doing projects for, how much time do I need to get things done? And we kind of just engineered that all from that golden thread of what does the nucleus need? And that was beautiful. That was the first time that I'd ever done that in my whole life. Everything was as one.
We talked about personality traits. We talked about what do we want to do with our time. This is really important for entrepreneurs to remember, that you have to also think about your energy and where you get your most creative bursts, or where you want to get your workouts in. So we would also include all of those in kind of our roles and responsibilities and how we spent the days. So we would design around, if I'm a morning person, then I'm going to get more time in the morning to get stuff done. Because if I wait till the night in the evening, I have no output. And Phil's the opposite. So we would also plan around those things and then plan those workouts in there as well. So those are also important things to consider.
Most great couples that I know are complete opposites, myself and my husband included. And although that's wonderful, like you mentioned, it breeds sometimes conflict where you're butting heads. So did you put any sort of structures in place when that happens, or just talk about how you handle conflict a little bit more? I think that'd be helpful.
Phil, do you want to take this one first?
Sure. Some of our hardest times, Corey, in our business, in our marriage have been when one party projects what they want onto the other. When I expect Krista to be me or she expects me to be her, the conflict mitigation was being aware that it was happening, calling it out, saying, I feel this, and being very vulnerable and open to what I was experiencing, but not projecting that onto her as fault or her to me as fault. And the other thing that we say often is, let's sit on the same side of the table, that we're still on the same team. The nucleus is still one. We just need to work together to move through this conflict. And sometimes that's taking space. Like Krista taught me that early in our marriage. She was like, I'm a guy that wants to work it out real time and play tennis, get it moving, hence the action. Whereas she's someone that actually needs to sit with it and get calm and calm her nervous system down and take space. And so we even learned, what does somebody need in conflict? And so she would say, I actually can't talk about this right now. I want to come back to it, but I need to take 30 minutes to myself to go for a walk. And then I'd like to return to it. Because I knew that about her from our shared work. I was like, yes, go take your space. And then I write down the things that I want to talk about or think about the things I wanted to talk about. And usually we would return with pretty cool heads. But I think all those things helped in conflict because it's inevitable. I mean, it's going to happen.
Right. That has given me so many great points to take away from this conversation. So I want to thank you in advance for that. Krista, is there anything you want to mention on this topic?
Having the shared agreement ahead of time, I'm not trying to promote our book or our product or our program or anything, because I don't think that you have to follow a specific model. But that time we take every year to do our strategic plan and to set our vision as a family and as a business and as a coupleship, and the proactive shared agreements that give us something to come back to and say, okay, we're being pulled away by this certain circumstance or this trigger. What are we actually trying to do here? What is it that we have agreed that we're trying to work on? And that foundation that we do proactively actually gives us something to put in the middle of the table and say, actually, this is what we're trying to do. Let's filter whatever the circumstances through that lens and see if we can't figure this out together and troubleshoot it, right? The other thing I'd always say is bring in partners, bring in people to help support, whether that's a therapist, a couples therapist, or a business coach, or someone who's going to bring in perspective. We used a meditation coach, Juan Alvarez, here in Columbus early on, so that we could kind of share the language around mindfulness and coming back to center. So I think having people in your corner to support the partnership or the company, whether it's you're married or you're just in business together, can be extremely valuable.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for being so open with this conversation. Up until this point, we've talked about how Krista and Phil have built Allen Key together, defining roles, navigating disagreements, and scaling something deeply personal. After the break, I want to get into the harder decisions, what it takes to certify others to carry this work forward, and what their lives actually look like today. More with Krista and Phil Franks right after this. Are you fresh out of school with big dreams and ambition to achieve them? Or is your current business bursting at the seams and it's time to expand your legacy? If you tend to challenge the status quo and shoot for the moon, Provide's SBA loan may be for you. Our dedicated team of small business experts will work with you to make your ownership dreams, no matter how big, a reality. To get started, visit getprovide.com to see how our tech-enabled small business financing and banking can work for you. Again, that's getprovide.com for when your aspirations of business ownership exceed traditional limits. I'm Corey Brown, and this is Provide's The Path to Owning It. We're back with Krista and Phil Franks. Before the break, we talked about the mechanics of building as life and business partners. Now, I want to get into what's been the hardest, how they've built for scale without losing integrity, and what it means to finally answer in the affirmative the question, if we died tomorrow, would we be proud of the way we live today? Krista, Phil, as things started to work and you started to see success, what were some of the first investments you made to grow the business?
I think one of the most pivotal ones that I was very resistant to, poor Phil, and we had a massive fight about, was an investment we made, even though I just made the point, bring in partners. This was when I fought big time just because of the stage of life we were in. We had a young newborn and we were custom building a home, and Phil had the intuitive thought to invest in a program that was kind of created to help us structure the program in a way that would be scalable from a team that knew how to do it. And I was very resistant to saying yes to that, but it was, as always, a very good decision that Phil had. And we invested in that partner, and they really helped us to build even our framework and our program, which became kind of the bedrock of everything else that the business was built on. It gave us a repeatable system that was really strong and thorough and put together in a way that just clicked. And that really helped us to kind of refine just the way we would take clients through the work, how we would systematize our content and our client work. And everything's been built from there. So that was kind of the piece that really unlocked all of the first iterations of how we would then go and sell this work to companies, to individuals, to couples, to families. And that really unlocked the repeatability of the work that we do in strategic planning.
Yeah. And were you ever nervous about scaling something that's so inherently personal and relationship driven? How did you think about that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of learnings, Corey. I would say that, yes, resounding with laughs. The piece that you have to learn as you're building any product is the palatability of it in the wild. How do people respond? What do they need? What do they need more of? What do they need less of? And even top of funnel stuff, like what's going to make them say yes? You have these rose-colored glasses on from your first degree network who's like, yeah, show me what you're making. But once you get beyond that orbit, it becomes a lot different of a ballgame. But we knew that it worked. And that was the thing that kind of kept the fuel in the tank for us. We saw results. People were having great conversations in their relationships or making strides they had never made. And on the site, we have these things that kind of show like real outcomes, like people writing their book or taking a trip with their family they always wanted to take. All these things that were real life happenings. So that's what kept our tank full and continued to expand it. In hindsight, would we have done a lot of things different? Sure. Are we still doing things different? Absolutely. But I think that's just part of the journey, right? You kind of have to be flexible and mold and shift to accommodate not only your own story, what you need as a foundational, as a hub, but then also what other people are going to need that surround your product or your business or your service.
Yeah. I'm wondering what has been the hardest operational decision that you've had to make so far, if you don't mind sharing.
The hardest operational decision. All of them?
Right. There's no easy. Are there easy ones?
I have one specific one. So after we had written the book, which was a really good validity tool to say like, hey, this is a thing, you can buy it online. It's published, go get it. That helped us a lot. And then we began to expand it out into like different products, coursing it, an in-person experience, a cohort experience. All these things were really complementary to the core thesis that was strategic planning for life. But we found ourselves in a white whale scenario with Mattel Toys, which was one of our largest clients. And they came to us through a network of ours, and we were very excited and we did it. We found that was very operationally heavy to do that. It was a lot of reps with a lot of people, and Krista being the core to our coaching practice inside of Allen Key, like became very heavy operationally for her. And so we had to stand up like a whole guide program where she began to train others on the thesis of Allen Key. And now we have like a Rolodex of guides that could kind of do that also. But it really became clear that where our roles were in that operationally. And so we've had to kind of recalibrate how Krista spends her time, how I spend my time, because of those different ways in which you apply your business to the world. It comes all the way back to what we started with our personal thesis. Krista knew she didn't want to be doing that coaching one-on-one all the time. So we had to create something to support that. And so that's the one that comes to mind for me is operational opportunity that turned into like things that needed to change for us as we evolved the product and the business.
Yeah. You mentioned certifying other guides. Operationally, how did you build that system that ensures the consistency, the quality that you started the company with in the first place?
To Phil's point, so thanks for bringing it up, Phil. It is hard to decide, all right, we're going to scale this to some other people and trust them that they're going to be able to fulfill on the same amount of guidance. And we take data on every class. So the whole goal was, can we keep the quality of the class and the groups, the group cohorts in these companies, can we keep that quality just as high when we swap other people in? That was kind of the thesis that we think we can do. But that was hard for Phil and I to kind of expand into that. I think the best thing you can do is start with documenting the process and making sure that you start bringing in people and that they're built into documenting the process. And then everyone has a very specific thing that they do in the process. We had an ops person. I am not an ops person. So that was the first thing we needed to offload. And she came in and she just took that whole process that kind of lived in my brain and in my emails, which makes me cringe thinking about. She took all of that, put it into Google Drive templates, email templates. We really systematized the entire content and process and scheduling and everything that we had been doing a little bit more manually. And then we just did the exact same thing once we were ready to bring in guides. I just documented the entire process for how does this session flow? What's the goal of the session? How do you talk through the session? And then kind of gave tips and training on how to bring people in and what we're learning along the way. So really the whole idea, again, coming kind of back to that systemization and productization, we just took this kind of coaching content and built it into a very systematized approach. And then really the people in the group and the guide became the filler of the time once they all got into conversation. And then, of course, we chose and selected guides who were extremely talented and had alignment and understanding already. And the most important part is that they don't just conceptually understand intentional living, but they actually practice it in their own lives so that they can speak from lived experience. And I think that was the most important piece when thinking about the people that we brought in.
Yeah. You know, we only have a few minutes left, so I want to talk about your brand story again. You end it with the same question that you started with, right? That if we die tomorrow, would we be proud of how we lived? Your answer is now a resounding yes. What does that yes actually look like in your daily lives, if you don't mind sharing?
I think it's a yes and a no. And this was something I wanted to bring up, is that one of the things we talk about in our work is that you're always going to enter different seasons and chapters of your life. And so it's not ask the question once and then the changes you make stay with you forever and keep you in that state. Now it's a yes and a no. And so we're currently in a big moment of transition because our two kids are now in school full time. And we kind of got to the end of the chapter where they were young and at home with Phil and I, and we were like, well, now what are we going to do for the next 10 years until they leave for school? So we are in a bit of a chapter change, and we started feeling that no again. So I would say from an operational perspective, this has been another point in our business model where we've said, oh, this is tough. How are we going to change it? What are we going to do differently? And so we're re-architecting. And I think that's a gift to every leader, founder, executive human being, is to reassess and to say, you know, we have a practice in our book that's the drives and the drains. What are the things that are driving you and giving you energy, and how do they align with your values? And what are the things you're doing that drain your energy, and how do those things not align with your values? And then which parts of life are you going to keep, add, or remove, right? Very simple exercise anyone can do, but it's a great checkpoint at any time of life to say, if that answer starts being a little bit more no, well, then let's make note of the things that are really working and keep that. And then let's make note of the things that aren't working anymore and let's re-architect them. And so for us, the piece that always works is we're home. We're here. The kids come home from school. We drop them off. We pick them up. Phil's here when we get back to the house. We still have presence. We still have time. We still can work from anywhere that we want. And those things are all still very true. I think some of the things that we're re-architecting now are, where are we putting our work time? Where are we putting our career time? Phil's an advisor and a partner in a couple new entities where he's building not only new brands and businesses for now, but also, equity for a potential future. So those are exciting things that are also fueling energy into our lifestyle, and then even giving us new opportunities to kind of share business ideas and opportunities and stuff with our kids and others in life.
Yeah. For someone listening whose answer is no and maybe has never been yes, what's like a first practical step that you can leave them with that they could take this week to find their yes?
There's something so simple, and it's the one thing that every single client brings up in session. The first question that we say is, what makes you feel most alive? It's the first question in the book. We have priming questions. It's very easy. What makes you feel alive? And then just go do more of those things. And I know it sounds so silly, but just if you have to put it into your calendar to go outside and go for a walk in the afternoons and you just do it one time, great. Because the more you do the things that you want to be doing in life, the more that they compound. We talk about compounding interest with money, but the same thing is true with the things that you like to do in your life. And that energy compounds. And then you start like, oh, I feel good. I want to do more of that. I want to do more of this. I want to do more of that. And then less of the things that you don't want. Right? And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. It doesn't have to mean that you have to change your life overnight. We always say start with the smallest thing you can do. And sometimes the smallest thing you can do is to speak it out loud.
And a lot of this is rooted in brain stuff too. Like we did a lot of research when we were doing this stuff around like what mechanics are being used to create change and habits and things like that. And there's a scenario that we use, I call it the red car theory. If you're going to shop for a car and you look around and the day before, you didn't see any of that car, but the next day, what do you see? You see lots of that car. You're beginning to prime yourself and your tools that are inside of you to like look for the things that you want. And so if you start to say like, I'd like to do more X, you start finding windows in which to do it. You start finding people that can help you do it, tools that can help you do it, or you even just start allowing yourself to think of those answers. And so that's where I like to start, is kind of pronouncing it and letting my subconscious and my mind kind of like start to put the pieces in front of me so I can say yes to those pieces.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you guys, both of you. Before we wrap up, because it's Thursday, so I'm assuming you're going to the zoo.
Great.
I want to bring up your book because we've mentioned it a few times, Strategic Planning for Life. For those listening who want to take that first step, how can the book help them, which I think we've hinted at, and where can they find it?
They can find it on Amazon. I don't have the link in my head, but just search Strategic Planning for Life on Amazon and it will come up. Really, it's a self-guided experience. You don't need someone to go through it with you. But I will say that what we know from all of our data is that having an accountability partner, not like someone hold my feet to the fire kind of thing, where it feels yucky, but just like a friend who you go to coffee and have a really good conversation and go through the book together and just talk about it, can be a really awesome experience, because the second thing is just community, right? Having community in it. What I would say is just grab the book and start working through it. The content is meant to be open-ended. We call it an open framework, so that we're not telling you how to do anything. We're just holding you for the space and asking the questions for someone's truth to come out onto the page. And it guides people step by step through the process. So it's really easy to get started. And if people approach it with no pressure, no expectation of like specific change or no expectation of perfection, it can be a really fun experience. Do it with your partner, do it with yourself, make it fun, to be honest. And it's a great way to get started.
Awesome. Well, Krista, Phil, thank you so much for being here and sharing not just how you built a business, but how you chose to rebuild your lives. I think that kind of courage is really exactly what the show's about. And we really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for giving us the space, Corey. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks for listening to The Path to Owning It. No two journeys look the same, but every one is full of real moments, raw lessons, and stories we're sharing. We hope today's episode gave you something to take with you on your own path. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more listeners find these stories. Know an entrepreneur whose journey we should feature? Let us know in the comments or reach out on social. The Path to Owning It is brought to you by the team at Provide, powered by Fifth Third, where we back small business owners like you. If you're ready to bet on yourself, head to getprovide.com to explore tools, resources, and financing and banking options crafted to help you build your legacy. This show is produced by PodCamp Media, branded podcast production for businesses. That's podcampmedia.com. Producer Dusty Weiss. Editor Harrison Fonder. For Provide, I'm Corey Brown. And to every small business owner out there, your story matters. Keep writing it.
Provide is a division of Fifth Third Bank, National Association. All opinions expressed by the participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Provide, its affiliates, or Fifth Third Bank. The participants' opinions are based on information they consider reliable, but neither Provide, its affiliates, nor Fifth Third Bank warrant its completeness or accuracy and should not be relied upon as such. This content is for informational purposes and does not constitute the rendering of legal, accounting, tax, or investment advice or other professional services by Provide or any of its affiliates. Please consult with appropriate professionals related to your individual circumstances. All lending is subject to review and approval.